People think like, oh, as a comic, your job is to get in trouble. And so, but they don't want to get yelled at. It's like, it's okay to make people mad, but they don't want any pushback. And I think that's wrong. As a comedian, you want to make people laugh. This is a quote attributed to Andy Warhol that I love. It's just, art is getting away with it. You know, if you put out a special and everyone's pissed, like, you didn't get away with it.
People are allowed to get offended. They're allowed to have their feelings hurt. All these things are allowed to happen, but we're allowed to make jokes. And in my opinion, everyone gets these jokes.
Everyone gets these jokes. Everyone gets these jokes, baby.
But to me, the first thing I did is post about it, and I was like, everyone gets these jokes.
DL said he understands everybody gets these jokes.
Oh my God.
But does everybody get the same jokes? Matt Wright changed his identity. That motherfucker got a facelift and everything. Matt Wright said,
Leave that alone.
He did. Matt went and got a facelift. Matt went and changed his whole identity to stay away from this bro.
But I mean, I'll be honest, if you're a comic.
How do you know that's not about Matt Wright, who just had a face change?
He
just had a face transplant?
Stop it.
He did?
Somebody look that up.
He said it's not a face transplant, he just hit puberty lick or some like that.
Really?
I literally just saw this, bro. I'm not making this up. That is Ellen and Jake Paul. That's who that is. Who is Matt Wright?
Matt Wright, what'd you do to Charlamagne, man?
Yeah.
What'd you do to Charlamagne? What the hell?
That's what it said.
What did you do to Charlamagne?
That's what TMZ said the headline. Matt Wright.
Now, you know, we've obviously had Logan on a few times. Every time we have him on, people are upset at us for not asking about this crypto thing. I just want to clarify here. We obviously asked him about the crypto thing. He said that there's an open investigation. Can we not talk about it? Can you cut it from the episode? So we're like, yeah, sure, we'll cut it from the episode. You can't talk about me and I'm clout chasing. Like, if anybody's clout chasing, it's Kendrick.
No.
With over 2 billion combined views on YouTube, massively successful comedy specials, sold-out Madison Square Garden shows, and even a standout performance at the Tom Brady roast on Netflix, Andrew Schulz has definitely cemented himself as one of the biggest names in stand-up comedy at the moment. But of course, this level of success didn't happen overnight, and for the past 5 years or more, Schulz played a key role in pioneering the trend of comedians posting their material and clips on social media, but more specifically, on YouTube. And so with a combination of talent, some great timing, and some good luck, Andrew Schulz was able to build a massive fan base that knew him and liked them for his edgy comedy.
First of all, I think what you're doing with YouTube is genius. It's brilliant. You're the first comic to really capitalize on using YouTube. You know, Netflix didn't want to give you a special, like, fuck, I don't need you. Let me do this. It'll get more views. And it has. And it's been amazing. It's been beautiful to watch. Yeah. But are you experiencing, because of the popularity increase, are you experiencing some pushback on some of your material? Because you go hard.
Bro, the weirdest thing? No. It's like we've curated an expectation for it. So the people that are going there are waiting for it. I'll tell you one thing, the Joe Rogan effect. We used to do 1 million views a week on my YouTube channel. And I came on here, 2 million now.
Wow.
Doubled.
That's crazy.
Doubled.
We'll see what happens now.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it was nuts,
You get the Charlamagne effect in there, too.
Well, we do the podcast. I mean, but the channel exists because of the Charlamagne effect. My channel exists because we're putting the Brilliant Idiots videos out every week on the channel. Like, without him, that channel doesn't exist.
However, because of this Rogan sphere effect, which we've talked about a lot in the past, a lot of comedians that became close friends with Joe Rogan went through something very similar, which was that, yes, before they met Joe, they were already successful stand-up comedians, but as soon as they became close friends with Joe, started going on the podcast a lot more, and got the cosign from Joe Rogan, they essentially had access to his massive fan base, which guaranteed a solid audience for a really long time in the future. And so naturally over time, they started focusing more on other things and less on the things that made the show good and what made Joe Rogan and everyone else a fan of them in the first place. And so then the lazy and the hacky material started becoming a more common thing on the show, on the podcast, because keep in mind that just a few years back, Andrew Schulz was absolutely killing it. He was putting out new and creative content, both on the podcast when he used to begin the show with a well-written monologue, but also at some point, they landed a comedy special on Netflix with the whole Turn Your Phone Sideways project, which back then I thought was pretty good. But even one of the comedy goats, one of the legends, didn't think so. But because it was new and creative and there was a lot of effort that was put into it, Even Joe Rogan was able to defend and stand up for Andrew Schulz, which now looking back, it is absolutely wild.
So like he would use all these visuals while he was hitting punchline after punchline.
Oh, wow.
He figured out a new way to do comedy. He figured out a way to do internet, Instagram, 10-minute comedy.
Well, okay, but that's not, like you say, that's not stand-up.
No.
Like this thing that you're describing, God bless him,
Yeah.
that's not what I do.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
It's different.
but
It's different than the way he does stand-up, which is interesting because his stand-up is slower. He holds laughs. He holds pause. He laughs at shit. He fucks around. He works a crowd a lot. His stand-up is loose.
Right.
He has fun. He's comfortable up there.
Right.
But these little clips that he does on Instagram are rapid fire, bang, bang, bang. And he works with a series of writers. But he used that time and innovated. You know, and
That's clever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not, but I'm not interested in it because, no disrespect to him, I like happening in real life.
yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could throw a slideshow and the shit if I want to, but that crowd's not there. What's the fucking point for me?
I know what you mean, but for him, he's coming up still. You know, you'd already made it.
Well,
You just
no,
wanted
yeah,
to get back in there.
Yeah, and it's a whole different ball of wax. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like that thing that evolution he was able to make.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like the old guy who has that hot outfit from the '70s. Go on without me. I look fine. I'm that. I'm good.
Now, what's really interesting is that now looking back, Joe Rogan would actually defend Andrew Schulz the same way that he defends Tony Hinchcliffe now, or with the same energy, because to go as far as to argue with Dave Chappelle, one of the GOATs, about comedy and what a new comedian is doing is pretty wild. And to be fair, it does show you how good of a friend Joe Rogan is or was to Andrew Schulz back then. But now it would be interesting to know if Joe Rogan still feels the same way or has that same energy to defend Andrew Schulz for the jokes that he made about Kendrick Lamar, because it wasn't creative at all and it wasn't even that funny at the end of the day. For example, if we take a look at the way that Andrew Schulz responded back then to Dave Chappelle's criticism, he was actually very nice about it. He made some jokes, but he wasn't that aggressive or said how he wanted to make love to Dave Chappelle. And that is likely because Andrew Schulz knew that he was letting his work and success speak for itself.
First of all, Joe is the man.
Yeah, that was so dope.
Like, Joe is just the man, and he is like, he's so rare in that he celebrates other people's creativity and success. And now to Dave. I actually, let me just give some context to this. I think I would have reacted the same way as Dave, given how I was described. Because if Dave has no clue who I am in terms of stand-up, right? And Joe's describing this like kind of YouTube or Instagram comedy, and you know how we all are. The second you tell me about like a funny YouTuber or a funny Instagrammer, we're like, I don't give a what that shit is, a little slideshow. This,
We
that,
stand-ups, yeah.
But then when Joe's like, no, he's a stand-up, it's different, and he found a way to evolve within the times. And then I think he was a little bit dismissive to it, and he was like, that's not my type of comedy, that's not what I do. And I guess the only pushback I would give there to Dave is that, like, Dave is a household name, not because of stand-up, but because of a different type of comedy.
But most recently, with the way that he's handling this whole Kendrick Lamar situation, it does make me believe that he's very insecure about not being that funny or creative anymore, because we've mentioned this before, but most recently the podcast, the Flagrant podcast, has been essentially turning into the male version of The View, in the sense that they only cover trending topics and go viral, not because of the jokes and the creativity, but because of the insane things that they say, which is clearly biased and not very comedian-like. And in this case, when it comes to Andrew Schulz, it does come across as him straight up clout chasing, because for the past couple of years, he has been receiving and dodging a lot of real criticism and some comments, but now decides to engage with the easiest one that will get him the most attention, and he really wasn't even mentioned at all. And by the way, don't forget to like the video. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Listen, I shut off my phone for the week. Like the week before, Kendrick dropped his album, right?
Yeah.
Every black person that texts or calls me is like, yo, Kendrick just took a shot at you on the album. Every white person or Asian person or Latino person that calls me is like, yo, good luck on your special. Okay?
Yeah.
So clearly there was a separation in who was, indulging in his content. Okay? So I've been a little out of it. But I come out of the special and it looks like there's so many articles about this album that are about, I don't want to,
Yeah, it was about you. You were trending on my Twitter.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell you because you had things to focus on.
What a time to be alive where...
I was not one of the Asians who said, good luck on your special.
I'm just saying. What a time to be alive where rappers got to talk about comedians for clout. Yeah. And you don't even got to say my name and it still makes headlines?
It's crazy.
You're welcome. You are what? How many views did I give him, you think? I mean, here's the thing. This is the thing that is kind of funny about it is like, first of all, Kendrick's people and the gang affiliate, everybody, his security, they will kill me. They will destroy me. They'll find me in the street. They'll fucking cut me up. They'll shoot me. They'll do whatever. I'm not a tough guy. Y'all would do. But just Kendrick, I would make love to him. And there's nothing he could do about it. Just Kendrick Lamar, I would make love to him. And the only thing that he could do is decide if it's consensual or not. That's the only thing he could do. If it's me and Kendrick, this is about physics. It's about physics.
Now, while I was watching this whole thing between Andrew Schulz and Kendrick's fan base, I couldn't really take Andrew Schulz seriously or give him the credit that he deserves for his corny but very well done trolling because of the fact that at this point, Andrew Schulz and the podcast, the Flagrant podcast, and everyone around, they all have so many partnerships, they all have so many sponsors, and there's so much money on the line that at this point, it is nearly impossible for everyone to actually get these jokes. And so the fact that he continues to push that narrative, it is a little bit dishonest because, for example, this is all speculation, but it wouldn't make any sense that the same company that is sponsoring both Drake and Andrew Schulz would be okay with Schulz trashing and going hard and making fun of one of their biggest partnerships. And so because of that, there is a clear bias and an incentive to not say anything negative about one person, but double down and triple down against the other. In this case, Drake and Kendrick.
Shout out Drake, though. You know what I mean? Shout out Drake. Now, I almost feel like I should just say a bunch of things about Kendrick that aren't true to get it out the way now in case he tries to say shit about me. Oh. Like, you gotta get there first. Strike first. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Which again, it's not very comedian-like. So once again, it's not just about Andrew Schulz telling a lazy or a bad joke, but instead that for the past year, this whole thing of everyone getting these jokes kind of has been exposed, which is pretty sad because, in my opinion, Andrew Schulz is one of the better comedians in the Rogan sphere when it comes to his comedy style and also his work ethic or business mentality and all that stuff. It's pretty impressive. But lately, even though he's more successful and wealthier than ever, it does seem like he's more worried and focused on getting more exposure instead of actually creating good content like they used to. For example, if this was still the Flagrant 2 podcast, I'm pretty sure Andrew Schulz would have responded to all the people calling him out, from Anthony Jeselnik to also that podcast episode with Steiny, Ethan from the H3 podcast, and also Bradley Martin, who had an interesting story about his experience with Andrew Schulz.
But I think what changed is I've learned a lot about Schulz, and I think he's actually an asshole.
Yeah, no, I was just curious if this is something you're actually going with the trend, or this is a genuine...
No, it's a genuine feeling. I feel like that one is more... That's a sourced, informed opinion that I don't like him.
My only beef with Schulz is that I went on his podcast almost 3 years ago now, and he's like, yeah, when I come to LA, I'll come to yours, and he hasn't.
That's the kind of guy he is. He's a big-time guy. Like, all of a sudden, he won't shut the up about selling Madison Square Garden, and like that he acts like he's the biggest coming to comedy.
Still deciding where it's going. Still figuring that out. But hopefully I'll have a decision by next week. I will let you guys know if it's going to be Netflix, Amazon, or maybe I'll charge my fans. Maybe I'll charge everybody $20 each to watch it, and then I'll put it on YouTube like a day later. How about that? How about I get $50 from everybody? Because it's so edgy.
And by the way, there's a ton of other examples of comedians or podcasters trashing or talking negatively about Andrew Schulz. But to be fair, you could argue that because Andrew Schulz is on a whole different level, he can't realistically respond to everyone, and he might not want to make it seem like he's punching down. But when it comes to Anthony Jeselnik, I mean, that is the perfect person to respond to and go hard against another comedian. And when it comes to Ethan Klein from the H3 podcast, I think it would have been an interesting back and forth. And if they wanted to, they could have made it a huge deal and gotten a lot of attention. But he didn't respond to any of that. Instead, it does seem like Andrew Schulz carefully picks who he wants to respond to and what he wants to address, essentially ignoring all the real criticism and only choosing the easiest one that he can address and destroy on his own podcast, surrounded by yes men. And so because of that, the whole excuse of him just simply defending himself and his friends is absolutely insane and doesn't make any sense.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about shit all the time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends,
They grow a
step-
beard
they step
because
the dick
there's
up.
more cushion when they get slapped the out of
Alex going crazy.
That's not me.
Alex going crazy.
The other guy.
I think the black girlfriend effect.
We love them all.
Yeah. Oh, really?
We love them all.
That means white.
Yo, who gets
That means white. Hey, let me do the US translation.
Kendrick fans, get him!
Wait a minute.
They cut the best
You
part.
said Kendrick
I've never seen this
fans.
before.
Well, at the very, very end, he says, Kendrick fans, get him.
Oh, I did not know you said that.
Oh, my little rascal's hurt.
No, wait a minute. Tommy.
He's not the Karen. The Karen is the person calling it out.
Nah, I don't think it's
Bro, stop it. If you were with your group
You called him out first.
I wasn't talking about that Kendrick.
Yes, you
He's standing up for
were.
his fans.
Stop.
I was talking about
Guys
Kendrick
watching
Perkins.
you
He's
lie.
standing up for his fans. You called him out first. I don't think Kendrick does this line if you don't say his name in this viral clip.
Yes.
Kendrick does have a great sense of humor. That is a fact. He has
Does
a great
he?
sense of, no, he does. He has a great sense of humor.
How so?
That's why he's doing the show with the creators of South Park.
No, they have a great sense of humor.
No,
That's why he hired them.
He has a great sense of humor.
Listen,
You don't know much about Kendrick.
Listen, the guy who
Euphoria is hilarious.
the guy who
Euphoria
does
is hilarious.
Not Like Us is hilarious. These are funny ass records. What he said with the sexy red line.
What is it?
When I see you with sexy red, I think you see two bad.
That's funny.
I think you got real competition. You might pop an ass with him. Like he's a funny guy. Kendrick
when I
is-
see you with
What
sexy,
is it,
I
the
got
braids?
two bad bitches. Oh,
What is it, the braids?
About
Yes.
Drake? Yeah, I don't know if it's that funny.
What I hope is he's just a person who f***ed up. Like this was a line, it was a throwaway line, you should have thrown it away.
Yeah, just say you weren't talking about me. That's the best thing you could do, Kendrick. Be like, yo, I don't know who Schulz is. Just say he's scary, and I don't know. I don't even know who he is. I never even heard of his comedy. I don't know anything about that guy. That was for someone else. That bar was for someone else. I think that's the smartest thing that he could do.
Yeah, he don't want
What you don't want to do is say my name. He might just not know really anything about comedy. I know that sounds crazy, but it just might not be his thing. And like he might just have that knee-jerk reaction, and he's just like, "Yo, this is wrong. You
And
can't."
maybe it's the only clip that got sent his way.
Exactly.
And if you only get sent one clip, then you're like, oh, this guy.
And once again, what's really interesting about this whole thing is how similar it is to the Tony Hinchcliffe situation at the rally, except that, to be fair, when it comes to Tony, his was an actual comedy set in front of a massive audience. And although some of the jokes were not the best, it does take a lot of work and a lot of effort compared to what Andrew Schulz is doing, which is essentially going on his own podcast and having his team laugh at anything that he says. But also, no one was actually mad at Tony or thought that the jokes came from a bad place, like in terms of them being racist or whatever. That's just silly, at least not in the comedy world. It was more of a funny thing to see Tony taking a massive L in the dumbest way possible because, again, he did a full set, but it was only that one joke that completely blew up. But also, at the very least, the fact that both Tony and Joe Rogan have been trying hard to run defense and explain where the joke came from, it likely means that Tony realized how bad it could have been and that it wasn't the best call. But when it comes to Schulz, it's almost like if he was jealous of all the attention that Tony was getting, and instead of doing something creative or writing a good joke, he went for the low-hanging fruits, which is to turn into a troll and try to be an edgelord. Again, up to that point, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People troll all the time. But if he is changing his approach to comedy, then that's a whole different story. Because according to Andrew Schulz, he responded to Kendrick Lamar because he wanted to defend himself and his friends, and not because he is simply a troll. And by the way, notice how whenever he is on his own podcast, on the Flagrant podcast, he is absolutely killing it and destroying because everyone is laughing. But when he gets a little bit of pushback on the brilliant idiots, he completely crumbles.
Matt Barnes is fair, and
Let me tell you why.
You should treat him like it's fair because he'll slap the shit out you.
No.
So
Matt Barnes is definitely way bigger than me and probably beat my ass in a fight very easily. But he got to watch more than the clip.
Obviously, since Kendrick dropped his album, A Bar and Whacked Out Murals was talking about white comedians and woo. Gary Owens tried to jump on that wave and said what he said and kind of fell to the side. But Andrew Schulz has kind of taken this opportunity to grow his fandom and his following and to me, clout chase. I don't think no one had a problem with that, but obviously I feel like you crossed the line when you started talking about taking his manhood and then just disrespecting him as a man. And now you want to cry about the reaction that you've been getting from the shit you said.
Look, so so the one issue I have with this is the way that they're painting the timeline. It's
out of context.
And the reality is like this is how Kendrick really is the Taylor Swift of hip hop, in that no matter what he does, he's still the victim. He goes, you said what you said. Now you're getting this response and you're crying about it.
Because they thought when you were on here talking about people leaving comments about your kids, it was you responding to that.
Because they didn't watch the episode.
Well, they also don't know when we tape.
But even if they did know when we taped, they would know that that's the first reaction. So this is the timeline. And this is the timeline.
I could have been wrong, but you were actually saying that you understood why people were leaving comments and you deserved it.
I never said I deserved it.
Well, you said you did what you did to Kendrick.
No.
And then they replied.
No.
What was it?
Stop, man. All of y'all are believing these fake ass timelines.
I don't remember.
So I got to deal with a propaganda machine. Who hit you up?
What was it?
This is it. Kendrick drops the song.
Yeah.
Mentions me.
Yeah.
Mentions my friends. Says slide on his friends, which I assume are you and you.
No.
So wait. Just let me talk. Let me talk.
Okay.
Don't interrupt. Just let me talk. Which I assume are both of you. You guys also think it's you because you're getting death threats. I'm getting death threats.
I never thought it was me.
Okay, that's fair. You never thought it was you. You have the ability to talk to them, right? They reach out to you to patch shit up real quick.
It's the Doodle and Laugh podcast.
Yes. But
Doodle and Laugh.
But you told me. Listen.
Well, I'm not trying to listen. What's it called?
Anyway.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Shits and gigs.
Boom.
Right?
My God, yes. I don't know.
So Kendrick's people reached out to you to clarify. They're like trying to, we didn't want to say it actually came to you, and people are thinking this. They're doing their little due diligence with you, right? But nobody else knows that. They think it's you, and they think it's you. Y'all are getting death threats. I'm getting death threats. They posting pictures on my little kid. I haven't said anything. I'm filming my special. So 2 weeks, I don't say a single word. All Kendrick fans are saying they're gonna kill me, my family, my little daughter. They're commenting on the pictures of my 8-month-old daughter. It's fine, whatever it is. This is internet shit. I don't say shit, right? I go, okay, it's like that. I'm a your man. All of Kendrick's fans go, how could you say that? Oh my God, you can't go there. You can't take it there. But I thought y'all took it there when you were saying you're gonna kill my daughter. So wait, y'all can kill my daughter, but I can't your man?
I think we shouldn't.
No, hold on.
We shouldn't.
No,
we
hold
shouldn't
on.
conflate Kendrick fans with what Kendrick is on, though.
I don't give a.
Yeah, because I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't conflate Kendrick fans and what Kendrick is on.
You got to know that
fans are ridiculous.
You got to know the power of your words. What they're telling me right now is to know the power of my words.
Now, by this point, most people know what happened between Andrew Schulz and Kendrick's fans and how he trolled them and then the backlash that came after. But I think it is important to understand and know the timeline of how things went down. And so on November 22nd of this year, Kendrick dropped a surprise album. And on that album, he had one song with 3 lines that some people were speculating were about Andrew Schulz, even though technically he was never mentioned once, and it could also apply to a lot of other comedians. Then there was no response for about 2 weeks, nothing online, nothing on the podcast, and then finally when he responded, he went all in, doubling down on Twitter with some pretty good comebacks. But then when he came to the podcast, that's when he went all in and tripled down and made the jokes about Kendrick. However, according to Andrew Schulz, he was simply responding and defending himself and his friends from all the online threats, which, that's always a weird one to bring up because although, of course, it does happen, either show the proof or don't even bring it up at all, because I would assume that Andrew Schulz was expecting or knew that something like that would happen. And so if it is the truth that the only reason why he responded and went all in was because of all the threats and all the people calling him out, then if you show the proof, then nobody will believe that you're simply clout chasing. But also what I realized while making this video is how the Brilliant Idiots podcast is now a lot better than the Flagrant podcast, because whenever Andrew is on his own show, he never gets any pushback, never gets called out, never gets made fun of, and They all laugh at every single thing that he says. But then when he goes on Brilliant Idiots, even though they're still very nice to him because obviously they're all friends, they do give him a little bit of pushback and they make it known that they don't fully agree with what he said. For example, even though Andrew Schulz kept ignoring this point, they kept bringing up how it did seem like he was clout chasing since at the end of the day, Kendrick never really mentioned him.
He's saying right now, if I talk shit, some crazy shit could happen to me.
Yes.
So I have to be responsible for my words, but Kendrick doesn't have to?
No, I don't think that's the case.
Well, he didn't say nothing to you.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Hold on. Let's just clear this up right now. If he's talking about shits and gigs, which you confirmed from his team, that means he's talking about me.
Yeah, but it's a false equivalency. And I'll tell you why it's false equivalency.
Oh, now y'all moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not. It's like,
even my own people doing it to me.
Listen.
It's crazy. The internet got to you, huh?
No.
I hope you enjoy the heat because it's up forever.
This is why it's a false equivalency. If you say, hey, if he says, hey, white comedians, never let a white comedian make jokes about black women, that's law.
Yeah.
Andrew, you said you want to
make love to him, make sweet love to him.
It's not the same, bro.
I thought there's no, listen, let me just ask you this question. let me just ask you this. He called Drake a for the whole summer.
You're not Drake.
No, I'm just saying. This is where the hypocrisy comes out. He called Drake a for the whole summer. A is someone who children. So he calls a guy of little girls. Of little girls, and everybody's singing it. Whack, 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 come up. All of A minor, certified. Everybody said, hold on. Of little girls, right? But once Kendrick becomes a little girl, it's a problem.
But let's go back to the whole time.
Why is it a problem when Kendrick's a little girl? Go there.
Let's talk about our conversation right here. How did it start? It started with timelines, right? And things being in context. So let's look at the timeline.
Look at the timeline.
Kendrick didn't go there until Drake said, you beat your woman, and your child isn't yours. It's your best friend / business partners. That's when Kendrick took it to...
And I've already said horrendous things.
Yes, but that's when Kendrick took it to your...
So you're saying it's okay to respond and take it to another level? Is that what you...
I think for every action there should be an equal...
If you tell people to slide on my friends, it's up.
He wasn't talking about us.
Okay, even if they mistook his words and thought he was talking about
wrong.
you.
You're
So that's
moving
what I'm saying.
Okay, so keep that same energy then.
Listen, I don't care either way. I'm just simply telling y'all two things. Number one, I don't like.
There's rules to rap beef now. We found the rules.
Three things
y'all can't handle the booty goons.
Three things I don't like about this situation. Number one, all the newcomers who don't know what it is we do here. Number two, none of us should be bothered by this, right?
Who's bothered?
That's right. You're acting a little bothered. You're acting a little bothered. And number three...
No, hold on. Who's bothered?
And once again, to be completely fair, back then, Andrew Schulz would actually make fun of everyone and everything when it came to race, gender, culture, religion, and he would go pretty hard. But because he came across as being very educated and familiar with the things that he was joking about, it never came across as him simply trolling and saying whatever to make people mad, and instead, it was good comedy. But now the main difference is that for the past year, there have been multiple times in which it became very clear that it was no longer that way, meaning not everyone got these jokes. For example, even though technically he has made some jokes about Logan Paul recently, it happened way after he realized that Logan Paul was hated and no longer a fan favorite on the show. And so, in my opinion, back then, not calling out or making fun of Logan Paul while the whole drama was happening was absolutely insane. And I remember back then losing some respect for the podcast. On top of that, he also never mentioned Joe Rogan's new comedy special, either to give him props or to give some honest feedback. But also, once again, he hasn't responded to all the people that have been calling him out for the past year, which is pretty wild because one of the big things that made me a big fan of the podcast was that they were one of the few shows that were not afraid to talk about what other podcasts wouldn't. For example, back then, Andrew Schulz was the only one that asked Brendan Schaub about the infamous Trug Walk, which was a very niche drama, but also they did have an intense and heated episode with Fresh and Fit back then, and also they even got Joe Rogan to admit that he felt bad for what he did to Carlos Mencia. But now it does seem like the creativity has peaked because he's resorting to trolling Kendrick Lamar, one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time, with some very lazy comedy, which isn't that funny at the end of the day.
My debates are about comedy. Yeah. My debates are about art. If you call me and you tell me shit like Andrew's a racist, he's a bigot, you're not gonna ever get me to buy into that. I know Andrew. Yeah. I've been like, this isn't new. Like that's what people don't realize. Like,
Of course.
This isn't a new podcast.
That's why this shit doesn't bother me. It's like I've been hearing this shit forever. It's like
exactly. So you're not gonna get me with that. Now, where you will get my attention is if you say Andrew's not funny, right? That type is like, wait a minute now. Okay. Now I'm like, whoa. What do you mean, right? So now we're having debates about that and having
never
discussions
been
about
said
that.
by anybody. Like literally the clip that I posted with the Meek Mill Diddy joke, the Diddy's house shit from the Forum show in LA.
Fire.
Everybody, all the people that are commenting now were dying laughing and sharing that joke. Yeah. It was the most viral joke about Diddy. So keep that same energy with this funny shit. No. You might not find this joke funny, which you're allowed to not find it funny.
That's perfectly
This is
okay.
what people don't get
You're
about
allowed
jokes.
to do the joke. People are allowed to say it's not funny. And people are allowed to, you can react to it however you want.
This is the thing. It's like, I'm all about freedom. Freedom and equality. You are free to not like a joke. You are free to not think it's funny. DL can think that jokes about are not funny. I'm totally okay with that. I disagree with him. I can point.
Whoa.
What? There's plenty of
Still have to
jokes
be
that are funny.
Yeah, it has to just be a funny joke.
But he can think none of them are funny based on whatever experiences he's had. Like, he just might, for whatever reason, just not like that topic.
I wonder did he laugh? I wonder did people think the Dave Chappelle joke was funny, the joke? Remember that one?
Bro, there's jokes in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's jokes in every, hey, don't drop the soap.
And look, I could be wrong, and there is a chance that I might look back at this and realize that Andrew Schulz was a genius for taking shots at Kendrick Lamar the way he did. But to me, it just seems like what he tried to do was to copy and outdo what Tony Hinchcliffe did by just saying the most insane thing to try and get people talking.
And funny enough, it kind of reminds me of how back then Whitney Cummings tried to get canceled. She was basically begging to get canceled right before she released her Netflix comedy special, but it didn't really do much. And when it comes to Andrew Schulz, he didn't really think it through because I'm sure he ran it by his team, but because everyone is a yes man, they likely told him that it was a great idea because of all the attention that he would get. But again, it's not really the best angle. For example, it seems like he's struggling with the idea of going viral for taking shots at Kendrick Lamar the way he did for being a troll, but then at the same time recording his comedy special, which is essentially an emotional story about him trying to get pregnant using IVF. And so once again, he's basically marketing himself as an edgy comic, as an edgelord, but then his new material is basically Bert Kreischer style of comedy, which is all about his family. And so because of that, it might not even be by choice, and instead, Andrew Schulz simply lost some of his touch when it comes to going hard and making fun of people. And so him talking about making sweet love to Kendrick might be the best he could come up with at the moment. And even though I do agree that when it comes to comedians, it is nearly impossible to take them down or destroy them when it comes to an online beef, back and forth. When it comes to Andrew Schulz, there are a lot of things that he could be roasted for. Like since, he is talking about how if Kendrick didn't have his team and if they were in a jail together alone, then he could make love to him since he is physically bigger than him. But on the other hand, Kendrick could say that when it comes to Andrew, if it wasn't for a lot of money and modern science, he wouldn't be able to have a family, which is dark. But if we're talking about comedy, I'm sure a comedian or somebody in the comments could make a joke about that. And so I feel like if Kendrick really wanted to, he could really destroy Andrew Schulz in terms of coming up with a good comeback that actually makes fun of Andrew Schulz.
Everything else he said was fair, though.
But
because he said comedy is comedy.
Exactly.
And you got the right to make these jokes.
I didn't think him saying I was clout chasing is fair because I'm responding to somebody that's talking about me.
But you got, but
like you can't talk about me and I'm clout chasing. Like if anybody's clout chasing, it's Kendrick.
No, but I'll tell you why. Because I keep telling you, it's perspective, right? People don't know. They really don't know how big you are. That's just the reality of the situation.
I agree.
They don't know you selling out the Garden 2 times. They don't know you selling out the Forum 2 times. They don't know you all around the world selling out these arenas. They don't realize that. So to them, you're just some run-of-the-mill comic who they may see on Brilliant Idiots with Charlamagne
or they'll
every
see
now
a
and
clip
then.
of it on the internet. They don't realize I'm playing every arena in the world.
That's right.
So
it's two things. Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it's two things too. Kendrick is very beloved, and you're talking about a guy
As he should be. He's incredibly accomplished.
He's
Like-
the world heavyweight champion of hip hop.
I don't know if I would say heavyweight. There's like a lightweight, or I think bantamweight.
He got all the belts.
You serving it up. He really is. It's almost like we do this.
Whatever you say, Kendrick got all the belts this year.
Yes, he does.
This is his time. This is his moment.
He's had
which
a
is wild
fantastic
because
year.
he's been, like we talked about last week, he's been doing it 15 plus years. So it's like he's the guy. It's not even close. So when you have a guy who's had the banner year that he's had, and you coming at him in that way, yes, the story is
No,
going to
I'm
be
responding to
magnified.
him. I'm responding to him. None of this happens if Kendrick doesn't talk about me or my friends. None of it. If he doesn't talk about me,
guys are not your friends.
That guy's my friend.
He wasn't talking
That
about
guy's
him.
my friend.
Alex, stop owning this.
I'm not.
I
don't even know what y'all talking about.
Everybody got to deal with the consequences of their words. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
It seems like what everybody's saying is only I got to do with
No,
it.
I said everybody
Yes,
has to
you.
deal with the consequences of
I'm
their
saying
words.
it.
Because what Alex said is true. Like anybody, everybody got fans, everybody got people that rock with them, everybody can take things out of context. We just saw this shit with you can kind of say this is what happened with the CEO of United Healthcare, right?
And look, what's really wild is that I was trying to be as fair as possible with Andrew Schulz because, you know, at the end of the day, the trolling or the joke about Kendrick Lamar wasn't that bad. But also, when it comes to Rogan's Fear comedians, I don't think Andrew Schulz has fallen as bad as others have. But then you listen to him arguing with Charlamagne the God, and he does come across as being absolutely delusional, and it doesn't sound like him doing a bit anymore because he's not just telling a simple joke, he's actually making a big deal out of something that wasn't even about him. Because, for example, Kendrick's lines could have been literally about anyone, even arguably the South Park creators, because I mean, if we're being delusional, why not assume that Kendrick was talking about them since they were going pretty hard on Lizzo and making fun of her? And by Kendrick working with them, he could be forcing them to produce something that pushes Kendrick's message. That would be huge, and that makes way more sense than Kendrick Lamar last minute adding Andrew Schulz to the album because he said something silly on a comedy podcast. I mean, come on. And so when it comes to Andrew Schulz, how can you not point out that he's clearly clout chasing? Now, to be fair, even though nobody has come out and defended Schulz or sided with him publicly from what I can remember, he did recently have 50 Cent on the podcast and they had a pretty good episode, and it does seem like 50 Cent really likes Andrew Schulz. But because that episode, like most of the episodes, was sponsored by Steak, again, it does make sense why no bad things or jokes were said about Drake. Even when Alex Media, who at this point is the only one who actually pushes back, even when he tried to get them to say something negative or a joke about Drake, nothing was said. Once again, proving that not everyone gets these jokes.
You did that even before I did anything, man. That's love.
You know, and I'm looking at it going, nah, it's cool because I'm a fan of it.
Respect,
Fan of your work, right? You so, like, but I don't understand what got into you. This made you say you was gonna Kendrick.
Whoa. I said make sweet love.
Sweet love. I registered for
No.
the wrong way.
No, we wouldn't do
No,
it.
it's not. Looks, you know what? I apologize, guys.
Yes, let's go.
This
is your camera right here. This
is from years and years of trauma. This comes from abuse from the neighborhood that I grew up in. This comes from a lot of different things, and just make sweet love. I heard when you said it.
That's the
it was
people,
aggressive. I don't know why I
so
registered it that way.
aggressive.
And then look for people to write petitions behind it. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
That is crazy because I mean, look, you saying. Look, I follow comedic culture. I watch the comedians. I enjoy them on another level.
You are a comedian.
What I appreciate about it is they are invincible.
Yeah.
When I watch them, I look and I go, there's no point that you could do something that actually damages what they developed, what they built. Like, you know, like they go, like, in any case, like Cat Williams could fight a 15-year-old kid that is his height. And not do so well, right? And he is still Cat Williams.
I didn't like the decision on that one. I didn't like the decision. I didn't like the decision. Yeah, that was 10-8. That was 10-8. That was 10-8. That was close. It was
That's
close.
one of those ones where you need a do-over.
But Drake's your man. How do you personally feel about him suing?
Look,
What happened when
he's good at doing the weave?
How
do you feel about him suing? Do you think he should?
Oh damn! I got caught up in this other story. That was good.
He's good.
He's good. This guy is like a cop.
No, he
What do you mean
was
like a cop?
What do you mean? No, I can feel cop energy.
Literally,
He was a cop. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Hey, Al, right now,
I ain't locked nobody.
Al, when we're engaged in this beef, we need the police on our side. Okay? We have police everywhere in every single city.
I'm feeling Vlad energy off it.
So once again, not only was the joke not the funniest or that creative, but because Andrew Schulz is clearly biased, it makes this very cringe because not only is he trying to clout chase by taking shots at Kendrick, one of the biggest artists in the world, but at the same time, in my opinion, he's trying to get noticed by Drake and trying to get on his good side because he likely saw that Tony Hinchcliffe was talking about how Drake watches Kill Tony, and so he likely wants the same thing. And since he knows that Drake isn't afraid of trying out new things or do stuff online like with Bobby Altoff, there's a chance that he thinks that he could get Drake on the show. And to be honest, at this point, that is not completely out of the question because the way the podcast has been going recently, I mean, there's no doubt that they have been changing and becoming more and more mainstream as time passes. And now they're actually closer to being a late night TV show than a comedy podcast. But to be fair, I think it is more of a business move and not really Schulz changing. I mean, he's always been that way, kind of. But the main difference is that before, the people around him would actually make fun of him and call him out. But now that is not the case. And now whenever somebody close to him, like Charlamagne the God, tries to call him out, he gets mad and thinks that they're all turning on him because they're not being yes men.
The fact that they're protesting, listen, I'm gonna put this out as it's a fan. Okay? I'm not gonna say it comes from Kendrick or his team or his publicist. I'm going to say that this is a random fan acting completely separately from them. But basically, they put out an ad where they're paying protesters to show up to my Hawaii show, December 21st. Ticket link down there. You'll see it. At the Blaisdell Arena. They're paying protesters. Now, I don't know who's providing the money.
$250 is not nothing.
Low key, I'm almost like, should we all go and I just do a show outside?
Son, if 1,000 people show up, that's $250,000 you gotta pay.
So who's gonna pay that? Who would have that kind of money? Probably a really obsessive fan. That's it. Now, I'm not saying it's coming from their team. I'm not saying it's coming from Kendrick. But this is, and by the way, they're paying full. That's like full price. That's not 30% off like their streams. This is a full price thing that they're paying. Imagine being like an artist who like really believes in creativity and then censoring other artists. Now, I'm not saying it's Kendrick. It's probably just a one random fan with like millions and millions of dollars that he would like to deploy to protesting a show in Hawaii of mine. Probably has nothing to do with the team freaking out and in shambles because they've never been made fun of on the internet. And their only reactions go, oh, you're racist. Oh, you're so racist. Because you want to butt my guy.
You know what hurt me the most? What when you said Kendrick made music for dudes under 5'10" and he's my #1 artist on my Spotify, right?
He does make music for dudes under 5'10".
And #1 in 2 songs. No. That's what hurt me the most personally. I took that as like painfully true.
No, he does make good.
You need to start wearing lifts. Drake was my #1.
Exactly. When Al hit 6 feet, he was all about the 6 god. But no, I think it is like, I never met like a dude 6'4" who's like, man, I love Kendrick Lamar. Like, right? It's more of like a shorter guy thing, right? Like it is. I'm just saying.
I can't argue with you.
I
can't argue with you.
I get, because you see him and he's like Iron Man to you or whatever, right? Like he's like a Marvel superhero. It's like one of us can do it.
He did that whole concert, didn't drink water.
Didn't drink water.
Superhero.
How did you do it?
I don't know. I love this.
Now, that whole take about how Kendrick has never been made fun of until now, until Andrew Schulz made fun of him, is absolutely insane. I mean, I feel like we don't even have to get into it because it was very clear that before Kendrick responded, Drake was making fun of him and it was working very, very well. But finally, the last thing that I did want to bring up was that I did see some posts on the Flagrant subreddit pointing out that Andrew Schulz might potentially, allegedly know the Alexander brothers who are currently in deep trouble. And I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with who they were or the whole situation, but because I did see those posts, and then I also saw a clip of Patrick Bet-David talking about it.
If you go online, Rob, and you just type in Alexander twins, the story will come up as the first one. Just go to Google and type in Alexander twins. It'll pop up. Right there. There you go. You got it. So friend of Alexander Real Estate Brothers surrenders, who are prominent luxury real estate in Florida and New York, or some of the traffickers, help them. Okay, so to face an allegation that he helped two of them, a woman nearly a decade ago. Story. You know these guys. You know of them in the Florida market. What do you know more about the story?
I'm just going to be radically transparent here. These kids grew up in Miami. These guys grew up in Miami. They have an older brother. I'll leave his name out of it because he was not involved in this whatsoever. He was in my class. He was in my grade. We acquaintances. We're good.
Oh, really? So one of the brothers has nothing to do with these allegations?
There's a fourth brother who is not even involved in this whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't even know if he lives in Florida anymore. I'm not sure. I haven't seen him since however. But the point is, I know him. I know the family. And I remember these guys from growing up. We run in very similar circles in Miami. I don't have any of their numbers on my phone. We're not friends. We did spend that one time at a dinner together. Not my buddies, but we have a lot of mutual friends. A lot.
And so I figured maybe Andrew Schulz will also bring it up. Not in terms of addressing anything, because I don't think just because you have a picture with somebody means anything bad necessarily. But in terms of everyone getting these jokes, I wonder if Andrew Schulz will go hard and make fun of them or ignore the whole situation. But yeah, once again, even though this whole Kendrick thing wasn't even that big of a deal, at the end of the day, it did show us that Andrew Schulz doesn't care anymore about putting out good comedy or being creative, and instead he's just worried about positioning the show, the podcast, as a mainstream late night show that only makes fun of those that are very famous or popular at the moment. But also, to be completely fair, we can't even be mad at them because that was kind of the plan even since back then, because even when they first remodeled the studio the first time, they did try to change the whole microphone setup and try to be more like a TV show and compete with them, but it didn't work out. And now that for the past couple of months, they've been having some pretty massive guests, it does seem like now they're transitioning to what the original goal was. So I guess we can't be mad about that, but we can still call out Andrew Schulz whenever he's being absolutely delusional. And last but not least, I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I wish you all a Happy New Year's. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for this year. See ya.
Now, being on top is different. Being on top is much harder. It's way harder to lead. It's easy to conquer. It's hard to lead. So we hope you do the best with your reign. And if it's deserved, then it will be long. And if it's not deserved, then it will be short. And you're the one that decides that.